the migrants' experience with the youth forcibly displaced from their homes is also varied, and refugees and asylum seekers may travel by plane and all other things. The refugees' mental health currently, the responsibility of mental health support of the refugees is shared by the network organization like the World Health Organization, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, and government and non-governmental organizations. And many refugees are affected by a post-traumatic stress disorder, that is PTSD, due to the circumstances as they faced during the migration, and which migrant affect the quality of their life. So, according to the American Psychiatric Association, and DSM, post-traumatic disorder is defined as the pedestrian disorder in which patients have experienced or witnessed a significant and traumatic event. Examples such as an event include a natural disaster and serious accident and terrorist attacks and war and combat. The National High Commissioner for Refugees defined as a refugee as set for 1951 Convention and its 1967 protocol. The primary universal definition of refugee that applies in the states is contained in Article 1A of the 1951 Convention, as armed by the 1967 protocol. Defined refugee is someone who, owing to well-founded fear of the basic persuasion of the rights of the race, religion, nationality, membership, and particular level.
Delegate of India, I want to talk about the refugees in the COVID-19 situation. As health is a fundamental human right for all, including refugees. Making it possible for refugees to access healthcare is a top priority for UNHCR. According to the 1951 Refugee Convention, refugees should have access to the same or similar healthcare as host populations. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a serious economic impact on the global population, with many countries on the brink of collapse and people left scrambling for essential supplies. In India, fears about the impending crisis and its catastrophic effects, given India's dense population and inadequate public healthcare facilities, led the Prime Minister to call for a complete lockdown. With less than 4 hours notice. India's lockdown is one of the world's largest and strictest, and its impact has been devastating, particularly on more vulnerable groups such as asylum seekers and refugees who have lost their livelihoods and struggle to sustain themselves. India hosts more than 200,000 refugees who live in densely populated urban settlements. They have limited access to mainstream services and supported account of their tenuous legal status and the rapidly deteriorating protection environment. India is not a signatory to the 1951 Refugee Convention or its 1967 protocol, and has consistently chosen to not enact a national asylum framework.
Became refugees not by choice but by their circumstances. As a basic right, we should all be able to move freely and choose a place of residence within a country without any restrictions. According to our country's refugee law, refugees are provided with the right to move freely in the areas under the control of Government of Republic of Cyprus, and they are also provided with the right of housing. Recognized refugees can apply for long-term residency in our country. This long-term residency will help them get equal treatment as Cypriots, and they can also apply for the Cypriot citizenship if they have completed 5 years of residencies. So, another important thing to all of us is education. That is also important to refugees. So, education is important to children because it helps children learn how to think critically and enhance their imagination. Our country has a special policy towards forging primary and secondary education mandatory to all children, including refugees. Challenges faced by refugees can be settled by promoting effective policies and would provide refugees equal treatment and also supporting them in financially. This would let the child refugees learn and get education. Thank you.
Honorable Chair and fellow delegates, over half of the world's refugees are children. Child refugees, asylum seekers, and undocumented migrants are exposed to multiple risk factors for poor physical and mental health throughout their migration experience. International treaties and national legislations recognize child migrants' right to health and equitable access to healthcare. Yet, restrictive immigration policies, health system challenges, and service providers' barriers to care impair translation into practice. Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada (IRCC) facilitates the admission and economic and social integration of immigrants and refugees who intend to stay in Canada permanently, while protecting the health, safety, and security of Canadians. The department selects economic immigrant applicants to contribute to the Canadian economy, processes family members, applicants to reunite families, and processes refugee and protected person applicants to provide a safe haven for those facing persecution. IRCC works with partners to verify that individuals meet admissibility requirements before they enter Canada. In order to support immigrants and refugees integrating into Canadian society, IRCC offers a variety of settlement support services through a network of service providers. So we know that migrants engage into entrepreneurship at much higher rates than natives. They act of migrating and even fleeing further away to further away countries in case of refugees is associated with risk-taking behavior. Migrants are more likely to take risks in the business sphere, creating employment opportunities for them.
The delegate of France would like to start off by saying that France strongly supported the United Nations adoption in September 2015 of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which set 17 Sustainable Development Goals for the world to eradicate extreme poverty, combat inequalities, and protect the planet. Many of the sustainable goals are related to the environment. The world needs to promote the coherent implementation of the environmental dimension of sustainable development. This means that the citizens of every country need to pay attention to environmental growth. France is equally attached with respect to environmental protection as it is to other goals. France has done very well in improving standard of living and required facilities. Yet, there is still work to be done, especially to maintain healthy ecosystems and sustainably manage natural resources. On 17th August 2015, the Energy Transition for Green Growth Act gave legislative shape to France's voluntary commitment to cut its greenhouse gas emissions by 40% below 1990 levels by 2030. The government led Parliament to pass a climate energy contribution on greenhouse gas emissions built into the taxes on petroleum products on a pathway already adopted by the Parliament, set to rise from 56 euros per ton of CO2 in 2020 to 100 euros per ton of CO2 in 2030. Thank you.
Facing some of the top environmental issues today, for example, rising temperatures, shifts in precipitation pattern, air pollution, etc. In December of 2020, the Government of Canada introduced a healthy environment and a healthy economy, which has helped Canada come a long way. Canada is also promoting multi-stakeholder commission to engage Canadians with solutions to sustainable development issues and approaches to implementing the SDGs, and also expanding the current Canadian environmental sustainability indicators to measure and reflect economic, social, and environmental issues, along with reducing soil waste going to landfills, encouraging more walking and use of public transport, creating green jobs by promoting energy efficient technologies. The vertical forest design is also in progress. Canada has also reduced methane emissions from Canada's oil and gas sector to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, conserve natural gas, and create healthier communities, investing $21.9 billion in green infrastructure to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, deliver clean air and safe drinking water, and promote renewable power.
Good morning, fellow delegates and Honorable Chair. I am the delegate of Iraq. It is my honor to be here. With prior permission of the Executive Board, the delegate of Iraq would like to speak about Iraq's environmental issues and their solutions. In the last few decades, Iraq has suffered from a lot of wars and post-conflict crisis, which has caused a lot of pollution in Iraq. During the ISIL conflict, about 19 oil wells were torched in Qora, a small town in Iraq, About 8 million tons of rubble was generated and 63 cities, 1,556 villages were heavily damaged. UNEP and the government of Iraq came up with the solutions for the following. Point 1. All the pollution caused by oil spills was cleaned by bioremediation treatment. Point 2. Rubble generated was recycled into reconstruction material. Point 3. The damaged villages and cities were repaired. Nevertheless, UNEP resolution today wants nothing more than to protect the environment, so Iraq is in the favor and supports the resolution. I would like to conclude by saying a quote by David Jason, UNEP's head of environmental protecting building. Protecting the environment during, before, and after armed conflict must rise to the same level of the political importance as protecting human rights are realized. Thank you for paying attention.
The delegate of France would like to suspend formal debate and move into a moderated caucus on the topic deforestation and solutions for the same, with the total time being 15 minutes and each speaker's time being 15 seconds.
Each speaker's time being
90 seconds.
90 seconds. So you're changing it to 15 and 90.
Yes.
Alright. That motion is in order. I'll just write that motion down in the chat box. Motion for discussing what? Could you repeat?
Deforestation and its solutions.
Contains 10% of world's tropical rainforest and 36% of tropical peatland. The thirst of palm oil has transformed the country's landscape. From 2000 to 2015, Indonesia lost an average of 498,000 hectares of forest each year, making it the world's second biggest deforester after Brazil. Much of the past deforestation involved slash and burn clearing, which has played a large role in driving polluting megafires across the country's peatland. In 2015, the number of peatland fires spiked, causing greenhouse gas release on the same scale as Brazil's total annual emission. The President of Indonesia set up the Peatlands Restoration Agency and tasked it with restoring 2 hectares of tropical peatlands. The delegate of Indonesia thinks that a way to reduce these changes due to the deforestation and its impact not only on Indonesia but also around the world is to become carbon neutral. Means that the CO2 emitted is equals to the CO2 absorbed. So the overall impact is zero. A way to absorb carbon is planting native trees.
How many of you have submitted the position papers? How many of you have submitted the position papers? Japan, Canada, France, Japan, Canada, France. Delegate of Italy, have you sent the position paper yet? Any other delegate?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, for recognizing me. Good morning, one and all. WHO had declared that AMR is top 10 global public health threat facing humanity. Addressing the growing threat of AMR in Canada is a shared responsibility. Antimicrobial resistance in use in Canada, a federal framework for action, serves as a starting point for collaboration response. The goal of the framework is to protect Canadians from the health risks related to the antimicrobial resistance. It includes 3 pillars: surveillance, stewardship, and innovation. The framework identifies a concrete government of Canada action to reduce the threat and impact on AMR. The public plays a key role in infection prevention. So the public awareness activity help public to understand the benefits and risk of antimicrobials. The government of Canada is engaging the public through antimicrobial resistant awareness campaign. Canada is already taking significant action to address the threat of AMR. both domestically and internationally. The Government of Canada will also explore with international partners a global approach to support innovators in the area of AMR. By continuing to work together, we will collectively achieve greater results in reducing the risk of antimicrobial resistance and protecting the health and safety of all. Thank you.
The recognition, Honorable Chairboard and esteemed delegates, is a delegation of the French Republic of France. We are highly honored and appreciate the effort to execute this conference. The French program against antibiotic resistance has been intensified since 2000. A set of national plans have been developed, both for humans, 3 plans from 2001 to 2016, and in the veterinary setting from 2012 to 2017. Both plans were initially successful in decreasing antibiotic consumption and antibiotic resistance for some microorganisms. The Minister for Health, Marisol Touraine, decided in 2015 to set up a special task force for antibiotic preservation because consumption was increasing again and because resistance from gram-negative microorganisms was increasing sharply over the years. The task force proposed some important actions, in particular the creation of an interministerial committee and the nomination of a ministerial delegate for antibiotic resistance. The implementation of a 5-year national research program, special status for innovative antibiotics, and a proposal that antibiotic resistance should be the national cause for 2016. These proposals have been accepted by the minister and some have already been implemented. Thank you.
The Australian Trade and Investment Commission, also known as Austrade, is the Australian government's international trade promotion and investment attraction agency. We generate market information and insights, promote Australian capability and facilitate connection through our extensive global network. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present. Australia has appointed an expert panel to reimagine their visitor economy, which help chart a course of sustainable long-term growth of the visitor economy over the next 10 years. This continues the work that commenced in 2018 on development of the next long-term strategy for the visitor economy, Tourism 2030, which was put on hold due to COVID-19.
With vaccination campaigns progressing quickly in many Western nations whose citizens travel to Kenya for safaris, guides were optimistic that after getting vaccinated themselves, they could look forward to the businesses picking up. The government has allotted 2.3 billion shillings to the tourism sector to help it recover from economic fallout caused by the pandemic. The Treasury allocated 1.7 billion shillings to the Tourism Fund and 643 million shillings to the Tourism Promotion Fund to help lift the sector battered by effects of the pandemic with restricted travel. Kenya's tourism sector was hit hard after the government banned all local and international flights in March last year, resulting in low tourist traffic at hotels. Data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics (KNBS) showed that the international arrivals dropped from 1.54 million in 2019 to 439,447 in 2027.
The government is making all kind of preparation like ministry has issued cleanliness, health, safety and environmental sustainability CHSE protocols and certifications programs. Having hospitality employees fully vaccinated, setting up safety check procedures for incoming tourists, and introducing many policies. UNWTO has conducted capacity building workshop and restarting international tourism in Bali to form policies, procedures, health infrastructure and immigration on the protocols for the new reality. Thank you.
1989, the Dubai Commerce and Tourism Promotion Board was established to promote Dubai as a luxury destination for the uptier market and influential business sectors. You all know that Dubai is the capital of UAE, and it has promoted lots and lots of GDP to the country's total GDP. In January 1997, it was replaced with the Department of Tourism and Commerce Marketing, which is DTCM. In 2018, tourist industry composed over 164.7 billion dirham to the country's GDP. The tourist industry of the United Arab Emirates is most successful among the Gulf nations and have long enjoyed status as the leading tourist nation of the GCC. The country is also the major tourist force in the Arab world. And what are the COVID-19 impact on UAE's tourism sector? I'm going to be talking about it. So travel and tourism is a key pillar of the UAE economy. Without question, the travel and tourism industry has been one of the hardest hit by the pandemic, and COVID-19 has dramatically changed the way people think about international travel. Due to the pandemic, there is currently almost zero tourism in UAE. Most hotels were closed for at least 2 months, and tourist attractions have closed for longer. Expo 2020 was set to be held in Dubai from October 2020 to April 2021. The Expo area and buildings are the equivalent of building a whole new mid-sized town in the UK, and it's currently finished but empty. There was a target for over 11 million additional foreign visitors to come to visit the Expo alone. Contributing to the tourism industry and the country's GDP, the Expo has now been postponed to October 21. So how can we resolve the tourism issue in UAE? Rebuilding tourism is a priority, but the sector must become more sustainable and resilient in the future. The survival of business throughout the tourism ecosystem is at risk without continued government support, and although governments have taken impressive action to the cushion blow to tourism, to minimize job losses and to build recovery in 2021 and beyond, what needs to be done and in more coordinated
Wrap up, ma'am.
Can you wrap up with one point added?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Key policy priorities include restoring traveler confidence. It is one of the most important things. And provided clear information to travelers and businesses.
I would like to set a moderated caucus for 10 minutes, 1 minute for each delegate, on the topic of extra measures taken by the country to reduce hunger and poverty.
Okay. Just write your topic in the chat box so that everybody could do that. Alright, next we have is UK.
The delegate of UK would like to raise a motion on the topic impact on COVID-19 crisis on the agriculture sector for the total time being of 15 minutes and for each speaker's timing 90 seconds.
So, what if it is okay? So, we were in the COVID-19 situation, and suppose we have entered into year 2030, and we are given another crisis or another health disorder by you people. We got a virus. What, according to you, should be the improvements or FOA technologies to be implemented for the crisis to be held back?
As COVID-19 started from China, that's our rumors first, and virus which are going to spread from China is a rumor too. We are subsiding the.
I'm just giving you a crisis that if we enter into 2030 and there's another crisis, health disorder from your place. For example, it is just a crisis. I'm not giving an allegation to you. I'm just asking, like, what would be the FOA measurements that you would like to take as a country?
As a country, I am preparing high scientific labs to prevent all the future virus or bacteria or other critical crises, and also for if the natural disasters which are caused by the Chinese people will not be affected other world. It is an official document by our president, and every country in the future may be peace by the China, not the critical crisis or anything.
Brazil during the COVID-19, a lot of problems, especially north and northeast of the Brazil are affected because of food insecurity and COVID. The highest unemployment are seen in the northeast regions of the Brazil. And because of COVID-19, there is no employment. And when there's no employment, there will be no income, especially for farmers. So when there's no income, the farmers can't invest in their agriculture, that which affects the production of food and makes the prices of food to rise.